T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right. Hey, everybody. You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast network in the world. This is Krista with the Girls Who Love Reptiles podcast, and we are already on episode 23 tonight. So it's going to be a solo episode from me just to kind of recap everything in 2024 from the episodes I've done, the breedings I've done, just what I've learned as a person, how I've grown. So I hope this is beneficial and you guys get something out of it. It's kind of reason. Oh, cat's already chilling, of course. That's kind of the reason why I've done this, of course, to get my brand out there and everything like that. But I really want you guys just to learn. That's how I got into this, was on the Trap Talk Network. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. But hope you guys are all having a great weekend. I've been pretty busy for the most part. I'm heading out to Florida on Tuesday, West Palm, Stewart area. I'll spend some much needed time with family there, just kind of decompressing and getting ready for the new year. So I can't believe Christmas is this coming week. The time has absolutely flown by. So hope you guys are all having a great weekend as well. I'll say hello to some of you guys in the chat. Then I'll kind of talk about our sponsors. I'll just do USARC tonight probably. I know we're going to have new sponsors for the coming year. And then I'll kind of get started on what I got tonight. So say hello. We got Joey, VUnit fam. We got Amanda from PJ's Creation. Shout out to Amanda. She just had a newborn baby boy a few days ago. So everybody congratulate her. Everything's going well from what I know. So super excited for tapping in. And we got MJ. Thanks for tapping in. We got Norwegian Pythons. Where y'all tapping in from? I'm from Central Missouri. Yeah, Amanda, they're from PJ's Creations from Kansas City. Oh, Joey, West Palm Beach, Florida. No way. Yeah, I'll be heading there on Tuesday. Yeah, I have some family that lives in West Palm, and then I have some family that lives in Stewart. So I'll be mainly staying in Stewart. But we kind of go back and forth between houses there. Mostly on my mom's side, lives down there. And then we got Jordan from Heartland Reptiles. Oh, Bill, thanks for tapping in. Awesome. That's really cool. The mayor from Chondro Town. All right, so let me do shout out to the sponsors a little bit. Well, I said USARC, but of course, the link is in the description. So I say this every single episode, but it's super, super important to give them our support, become a member. It's really easy to sign up. And because of them, that's the reason why we're able to do what we do and to be able to keep doing what we're doing, develop our passion. USARC is our voice. So again, strongly recommend going and become a member. I'm sure you all maybe have seen the new documentary that's coming out. They've done the chimps and Tiger King, and now they're doing one on reptiles. So I can only imagine the work that USARC is probably going to have to deal with from that. So they're going to need as much support as we can give them. So again, super, super important. And I'm going to have to do this. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to do the little intro song because I love it and it's going to get me jazzed up. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. Get your drinks ready. Stay hydrated. No, it's an MJ thing, but I totally agree with that as well. So do a little dance and let's get ready.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes, exclusive.
Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, God love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
All right, I saw some of you guys. I'm sure you guys are dancing. I was back here dancing. I love that intro. Always have. But yeah, so first off, I just want to say thank you for everybody who's been here tonight, who's been watching the episodes pretty consistently. It really means a lot to me. About 6 months into this, so the support means the absolute world. I'm going to talk about them a little bit later in the show, but of course, shout out to MJ for giving me this chance. It all kind of started after that episode I had with Bash Coder, where they kind of went through my my group of animals, my collection, and basically said what I should change and all of that. And right after that episode, MJ had reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do the show, and thought I had what it takes to do it. And again, I really thank him for giving me that opportunity. I've always been more of an introverted person, so this has definitely been something to put myself out there more. I've never been the best public speaker. I have to do it for my job. I'm always presenting either at conferences or scientific seminars at work. So it's a lot of being able to process scientific information and then relaying it to different groups of people, depending on if it's, more public, all the way to scientists that are in my field. So this has become a very, very good skill for me in being able to public speak, even though it's really just me and my computer and the guests, of course. But I can already tell it's gotten better over the 6 months. My boss even said something about my public speaking getting better. I was at a conference in Chicago just a couple weeks ago and had a presentation there, and she was like, "Yeah, you've really gotten better." So again, just want to say thanks for the opportunity. It's really crazy how much has changed in a year. I bought my first ball python in, spring of 2022, but it wasn't really until last year, about July, August, where I really started buying things, getting into it more, getting to the hobby more. And that's where I found the Trap Talk Reptile Network as the first podcast. I had never listened to podcasts before up until this really just came across on YouTube. Loved the guests that were coming on. That's how I was really starting to learn things about the projects and what was, up and coming, what are people working on. So that's how I started to learn. And now I consider myself a podcast junkie now. I help run the trap a little bit behind the scenes more. So it's been a great opportunity for me. Still a lot to work on. Sometimes my voice gets a little bit quiet at the end of sentences, so I'm going to have to just work on trying not to say as much. I think it just takes, obviously, some time, but I just want to thank you guys for all the support. Some of my favorite episodes. Thank you, Gary. Yeah. Gary Shavino, Gary Crushing. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. And it meant a lot when I met you at Daytona too, and you said, I always remember you're a very likable person. That has just stuck with me. So I'm glad you guys can see that through the screen. But some of my favorite episodes, you can comment on some of your favorite episodes, what you guys have liked as well. One of them being the very first episode, Kayla with Jujube the Snake. Really, first ever podcast. I thought it went smoothly. The conversation was great. We stayed talking for probably an hour or so after that. But it really I was nervous the whole day. So having that go smoothly, that was really a great episode for me. I also liked Abby from the Curly Hair Keeper, just from the behavior aspect and things I've learned on the retics. I learned that I am not a retic person. I will not get a retic. That is not my species. They're a little bit too high strung, I'll put it, for a large snake for me. I'm not even super into the big snakes. I've thought about maybe a berm at some point, but definitely not retics after that episode. But she did just a phenomenal job just talking about their behavior and how smart they are. And I really got a lot out of that. She had a kind of a science background in behavior, so we're able to kind of communicate on that level as well. Channing from Reptico was one that really stood out to me too. Had a lot of views on that one. A lot of people in the community were excited, just from the experience, of course, where her parents have with rice reptiles, and now her starting her own thing with more along the geckos and hognose side of Reptico. And it was kind of challenging, I would say, for me as a podcast host, a new podcast. So just because she was so young, most of the people I'm talking to are my age or older, but her young, I had a lot of prep ahead of time just to kind of prepare for what her answers were going to be. You know, I didn't want to go into anything super, super in depth, but she did amazing, and it really helped our relationship with her parents. I see them at the shows and say hello. So help kind of builds that connection as well. Ashley from Teenage Chameleons was another one. Just on the fact that I learned so much about chameleons, but Ashley is pretty local to me in the state of Missouri. So that episode, I would say, just made that connection or bond between us, because I've seen her at a lot of shows since then. We've hung out just recently at the Kansas City All-American Reptile and Plant Expo in Kansas City, Kansas. Hung out there as vendors. So that episode just really helped kind of make that bond with her. We've kind of chatted back and forth about veterinary stuff since then, and she's become a friend of mine in the hobby, and it kind of stemmed from that episode. And last but not least, I would say Megan, or Meg from Megaconda. My cheeks really hurt after that episode. It was a lot of laughing, and it was just overall a pretty good time. So those are my top ones. So you can put whatever you guys thought your episode looks like. Jordan, yeah, you liked Abby's as well. Yeah, that one was pretty good. I just didn't realize how, behavioral and how really smart that species is. So it was really, really interesting. And that's why I do this show is to learn, but for you guys to learn as well. This hobby is a never-ending cycle of learning. You have to learn in order to progress. So that's why some future shows, just having more women from varied species. Some of you have reached out with people to have on, so I appreciate that. I got them on the list. I also want to have more collaborative episodes as well. So Dave Levinson's one he's in Missouri, of course, and we've talked, and I've helped him with some episodes. So we get along pretty well. I feel like we have a sort of mesh together. So I would like to have him on. So I'm in progress with that. And then Jen Black, she's on the Saturday show with the All Monitor Talk. We already have a couple episodes scheduled for the beginning of the year to have on do collaboration. So really excited for that. And then maybe have kind of a unique guest maybe every quarter. Maybe it doesn't have to be female or not. But that's kind of a thought I had as well. Maybe someone we don't hear about on the podcast so often. So that's kind of something I've kind of kept in the back of my mind as well. And yeah, constantly thinking about new species. There's a lot of gecko species I want to learn more about. So looking into having people from those species on as well. But if there is a species you want to hear about or have a specific person you want to have on, just shoot me a DM and I'll look into it and get them on. Let me check the chats real quick. If you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll answer them as I go or have a little time at the end. But second, Reptile Whisper. Okay, Jordan trying to get me into the retics. I don't know if you're going to get me on that one. I kind of like the burns if I was ever going to do a large snake. So yeah, that's my kind of recap for my favorite episodes and what I'm thinking about in the future. The Trap has a lot of upcoming new additions and things we're going to do to give you guys the best experience or best podcasting experience in the reptile game. So be on the lookout for that. Super exciting. and kind of go into things. Next would be sort of what I learned as a breeder. This is my first year breeding ball pythons, second year doing leopard geckos. So with the ball pythons, I had a total of 4 clutches. So 4, and I think I tried to get 5 females to go. So pretty good luck there. My favorite animals that I made was a really pretty red striped leopard banana clown. She really just glows, a really beautiful orange color. And so the red stripe really enhances the banana. And I think she'll look really good as an adult as well. And then my most recent clutch, I hit quite a few clown pieds, and I hit a female orange dream leopard clown pied. So those 2 animals I was really, really excited to hit this year. And overall, it was, like most people have said, breeding ball pythons is pretty easy. So you just kind of put them together and yeah, they kind of do their thing. So I felt like things went smoothly from the start. I did have access to an ultrasound with being a veterinarian, so that was pretty helpful. And I probably will end up just getting my own. Emilio always says to, you should really learn the animals. So I do get that part of it, but it is really nice to be able to just scan them and have some sort of idea where they're at. Because one thing they always talk about is bull wrapping, but honestly, I never saw that. And out of the 4 or 5, I never saw any bull wrapping. So, things like that's kind of hard to see. But one thing is definitely when you see him in ovulation, you never forget that. I remember in the beginning, I was like checking him and I was like, oh, she looks like she's ovulating. And everybody in the chats were like, no, she's not, definitely not on ovulation. But then when you actually see one, okay, then there's no second guessing after that. So if you're a newer person, just have that. There's pictures online. I think the Marcus Jane pictorial one I referred back to a lot, super helpful just to give a visual on some things. And then the other big thing is I had bought, I think out of the 4, either they were proven or adults when I got them. And it worked out well for me. I know there are pros and cons in doing that. It's probably overall definitely better to buy younger or subadults and raise them yourselves. But I did get proven adults and they did go for me. Like I said, 4 out of the 5. So worked out in my favor, but of course there are cons of doing that. It's not a given that they're going to go for you. They may never go for you, but that's kind of the risk with any animal. But another thing that I learned, getting in was everything about recessives. So that's when I started. I wanted every single project to be a triple, quad recessive. And the more I thought about it, the more how I didn't so much want to do that. I knew I liked the multi-recessives I had. They made sense in my mind, but I feel like at least I didn't, or people in general, maybe not realize how many animals you actually have to be able to hit the odds. Of course, we see Justin with so many clutches he does. He makes it look easy, but if you just look at the amount of animals he has to hit those odds, it's not so easy. And for me, I'm somebody that wants to stay relatively on the smaller scale just because I know I'm going to be doing this as a side thing for many, many years. I'm still in school, so I'm not really sure what the future holds for me at this moment. So I don't want to have too many animals. And when it comes to projects, I really want to do them well. I don't want to have a couple pairings for a project. I want to be able to build up my way to having 10 plus pairings a project to really work it well with the right codoms in it. So that's why I had to kind of rearrange some things and kind of narrow things down, so to speak, but it's still really, really difficult. And I still have quite a bit of projects, but I feel like they're a little more streamlined where I cannot have as many animals overall. So some of the projects that I have, I'm really big into Ultramel. I love how it looks as an adult. I feel like there's a lot of things you can do with it still. It's one thing that I got in. It was just, I kind of got frustrated. I don't say frustrated, but when I looked at shows and things like that, all I saw was clown, and nothing against clown. Clown is, as we all know, clown king, so to speak. But that's all I kind of saw. And I wanted to sort of be somewhat different or build my niche somewhere else, especially with me doing this so focused and on the side for now. So that's kind of where I went with the Ultramel. So doing Ultramel pieds. Initially, I bought some clown pied stuff, but I really changed it kind of over to the Ultramel pied stuff as more of like my pet kind of project for for people to have at shows or for tables for shows because they just look really pretty. So I've kind of refocused there. I would say my main triple that I wanted to work is the Hypo Sunset puzzle. So I have some Hypo Sunset pieces, some Hypo puzzle pieces, and I'll kind of work them together over time. And I really love the Ultramel Sunset. So I'm really going to be working that and Ultramel Paint as well. I think the Ultramel Sunset's one of the best looking sunsets that went Hypo Sunset. So a lot of work to do with that project overall. I also thought about Puzzle Ultramel Sunset would probably look really, really good too, but I don't know if I want to, again, spend more space and time into animals. Maybe I'll work it down the road. That's something I keep going back and forth on. Probably not right now, but maybe in the future. And then I have a little bit of Ultramel Clown on Clown stuff as well. So those are kind of the big projects. Maybe it's too much Ultramel. We'll kind of see how things go, but I'm really excited for what I'm producing this year and in the future. So what I'm wanting to really hit this year are some visual Ultramel Pied females. I have the chance to hit an OD Ultramel Pied female. And then next year I'll have some chance to work a lot of Codoms in there, leopard, blackhead, those types of things. I would really like to make some Ultramel Het Sunset females for me to keep back this year is a big key. And then I have a pretty good shot of hitting a Cypress Ultramel Clown. I've looked all over. I can't find what that would look like, but I think it would look pretty nice. So that's what I'm hoping to really hit this year. And then on the horizon, maybe later this season, early next season, I have a strong, well, I say strong, but anyways, a chance of hitting a Cypress Hypo puzzle. So I think that would look really pretty. I've seen some Cypress puzzles. I think I've seen a Cypress puzzle in a group or two. It's a little less puzzly, but it still looks really nice. And then a pretty good chances at hitting a Ultramel Paint. And then for the Hypo Sunset Ultramel puzzle, I'm hoping to hit some Hypo Doublehead Sunset puzzles. So we'll see how that goes on the horizon. And that's what I would want to hit. So really, really excited. Any sort of letdowns or hardships? I had a dream sickle clutch that didn't really go as well as I had wanted it to. A lot of the animals came out with one eye or a kink. Kind of ran it down to genetics. Nothing was wrong with the incubator the whole entire time. So I think it's something that just happens after talking to other breeders. So that was kind of a frustrating. That was the clutch I was kind of looking forward to the most this year. So that's been challenging. I've had to assist feed some animals, still assist feeding some of them. So that's been a learning curve, and I would say the biggest challenge or a little bit of a letdown this year, but overall very happy with how things went on the ball python side. For the leopard geckos, like I said, this is my second season producing them. My first season, I produced about not quite 20 animals. And then this year, I produced almost 40 animals, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of leopard geckos. They do produce a lot of eggs. They can produce, I don't know, 10 a season, maybe. But I wanted to kind of build up slowly since they do have so many animals. I didn't want to be left with a lot of animals. I wanted to kind of prove to myself that I can sell. So I've sold out last year. I'm really close to selling out this year. I have maybe 3 or 4 animals left. So this year, I think it's okay. I'm going to start breeding a little bit earlier. I've had one that I can see ovulating right now. Last year, this season, I didn't really start pairing until February or March. So since I've pretty much sold everything and I feel pretty confident, I'm gonna start breeding earlier. And then the last 2 years I've just done tangerines, so the really, really bright orange ones. But this year I'm doing a little more diversity. So I'm still doing some tangerine stuff. I'm going to be doing some firebold stuff, which is a tangerine. So it's a line bred trait, but it's tangerine in the bold pattern. You can go to my Instagram and see some pictures of them. But I'm really excited for that pair. And I'll kind of breed that into some clown animals with a partnership project where I have with my friend Chase from LeMaster Scales. He's been big into the leopard geckos as well and has helped me with that. And then I've really started kind of branching out into the Black Knight as well as the Tangerine Tremper, which is a line of albino the Tremper is. And then when you have Black Knight, Tangerine, and Tremper, you make what's called a lava, which is really cool. I shared it in the V unit some pictures today, but it's kind of like a grayish. There's variations in what they can look like, but it's almost a gray. And then they have these bright highlighter orange colors. So that's why I'm gonna kind of play around with that in the pattern. And then, yeah, and I have a really cute, it's called a panda. It's a panda line Black Knight, but it's a MAC Super Snow Eclipse Black Knight. So you'll see pictures of him on my Instagram, but he's black with basically a white nose and then whites on the legs. And I'm going to breed him into a pied animal and hopefully get some kind of black and white pies over time with that. So those are kind of the projects I've done and what I am going to be working on. So really, really excited to kind of up the number of animals and really start diving into the other projects now that I've kind of proven that I can produce the animals I want and be able to sell them. As far as new species, that's been so difficult. When I want to do breeding, I have an expensive taste. I found that out. And I want to do things really well at a really high level. So I'm not so much into the quantity, I'm more into the quality. So I am getting a chondro in the spring once the gets warmer and able to ship. Just the one, just kind of seeing how that goes. MJ's like, make sure you can keep it alive. So I'm like, okay, let me keep this thing alive for a year before I add any other ones. Maybe it'll just be a pet. I don't know. We'll just see how that goes. But some other species I like are the kahua geckos. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've always heard of chahua, and then I'm pretty sure it's MJ said it's kahua, like chondro. So that's, I guess, how I should be saying it. But and how I got into that, I don't even know. I was at a show and some person just brought a cup and I'm always like, oh yeah, what'd you pick up? And then they showed me this little mossy green gecko and I thought it was super pretty. I didn't know much about them, but they're kind of like a mix between a lychee and a crescent gecko. They're bigger than a crescent gecko, smaller than a lychee, but they look like a lychee. And I'm kind of looking into the two main lines. There's the mainland and the Pine Island. And I'm kind of leaning more towards the Pine Island. I like the really colorful pinks. And then I also like the kind of the white collared stuff, but I like the pinks a little bit more. So I think I'm going to focus on that and do some line breeding project with that. And then the other species I really like are the cute little knobtail geckos. Still learning about those. Has been a little challenging in learning about them from a species. So I'm going to have to find a kind of a mentor in the hobby and talk to them, get some animals from them. But I'm still in the process for those. There's a lot of subspecies, so I'm trying to narrow down which subspecies and then the morphs within that subspecies. But they're super cute. It looks like they're kept relatively similar to leopard geckos. So as far as my setup, I think I can do that fairly easily. I found out like sand, and then you do need to, I say brumate, but it's not really a true brumation. It's mostly cooling them down for about 6 to 8 weeks. And I've heard various temps on where to, some say literally turn the heat tape off, and then some other people have said, oh, you need to have them cold, like down to 60. So I'm told, and that's maybe to do the subspecies. So I'm still in a lot of research phase on that part of it, because I want to be able to do that easily with the setups I have. So that's where I'm kind of in the middle with that. So that's where I kind of am on my species. I'll kind of take a break and check the chat here for a minute, see if there's any any questions or comments I need to address. Not much, just Dylan still on the chain. Oh, JD, perfect. Yeah, that would be awesome for sure. I will definitely reach out. That would be a great idea to have some Kluber ladies on the show, because yeah, I'm all about having variety. Oh, Dylan, puzzle. Yep. I said some. I don't have too many animals. I have a visual puzzle head hypo girl and a puzzle head hypo boy, and then I think a couple heads, like a cypress hypo head puzzle. So not too many, but enough where I can kind of start and make my own stuff. So, and then another kind of newish update is merch. So I kind of took a little bit of a while to get into the merch game. I need to get on my stickers a little bit more. I'm kind of lacking in that aspect, but again, I wanted to focus more on getting the high quality animals and worry about the merch and all of that later. But I am getting some shirts done. So I've made my first order with Paul from you guys from the View and the Trap Chats and some other people on my Instagram. But if you do want a shirt, reach out to me, what size you want. I'm doing in the black and teal. So reach out, DM me if you want a shirt, and I'm going to do another order after the holidays and everything. But I'm really excited about that. And kind of moving on into more of the personal growth side of things. So I think, as I kind of touched on in the beginning, I've gotten a lot more, I would say, confidence in doing this show week after week. At least I think, I don't know. People have seen me at shows and have reached out to me and have said, I really like what you're doing on the show, and that really means a lot to me. So again, thank you for that. Like I said, I've been working on my pronunciations, my enunciations, make sure I'm not drifting off and getting quieter. I do that when I public speak too in my seminars. It's like something I don't even think about. I just start getting quieter at the end of the sentences and start mumbling a little bit. So it's just something I just have to work on. One thing I've kind of learned from this, in the beginning, I joined a ton of Patreons and groups. I would say I'm still in a pretty fair number of groups and Patreons. They've kind of dwindled down smaller. So I think it's really, really important to choose your inner circle wisely. Because if you're in so many groups, not that there's nothing necessarily anything bad with it, but you end up getting pulled in like a lot of different directions when you're asking questions and thoughts. And sometimes, not that it's coming from a bad place, but some people don't really have much experience, but they're giving a lot of advice. So it's something I've kind of had to learn to and vet people on the advice they're giving. It's not that they're coming from a bad place, but in order to be successful, I think you should a lot of times listen to people that have the experience and the success to back it up. So that's one thing I've learned. So I really want to shout out to the Trap Talk and the V Unit Patreons. Those Patreons I've learned, Patreon, Instagram group, those are the ones I've learned just the most from. The trap side more gets you into a lot of different keepers. So I see a lot from the chondro side, but it's a really, really unique place that people from all different species kind of come together and discuss things. And the V Unit is, we still have people from all various types of species, but I would say it's more ball python focused. But those two groups I've just learned a ton from. Those are the ones I'm most active in. And so if you're interested in joining a group, definitely reach out to both of those and kind of get accustomed. They're both families. So we really care about each other, not so much from an animal side, of course, but also personally what's going on in our day-to-day as well. I also want to shout out to Brandon Nixon. He's from Nixon Reptiles. He's probably my other best friend in the hobby that I talk to probably every day, either text or on the phone while we're cleaning animals or something, kind of bouncing ideas off of, talking about what we're seeing week to week. But he's been a really, really big mentor to me. And I also got him into some leopard geckos, so be on the lookout for that. So he got corrupted on the leopard geckos. But anyways, he's been a true friend to me when I needed friends. So it all started from me buying some really nice animals from him, and we just kind of have become really good friends ever since then. And that's one of the big things I have learned getting into this that I wasn't expecting. Not to say it's a bad thing, but this is truly a lifestyle, I want to say. I wasn't expecting this to be such a big part of my life. Just part of it's my decisions too, of course, getting tapped into all these groups and my phone's constantly buzzing with notifications all day. I chose that life, so to speak. But it's really awesome to have that part of it where these people are your friends. It's not just snakes all day, even though we love talking about that, but there's a lot of personal growth with that as well. So yeah, shout out to MJ and Emilio, especially with that. They're really my older brothers, and they know that. But we talk pretty much every day. They're on the phone or text about random things and funny things. But they have become true family to me. I would especially say recently. I would say my life has been altered, but it's been kind of difficult the last month. I would say I've had a lot of kind of personal stuff going on. I won't really go into the details, but my relationship fell apart, and due to infidelity reasons, and then for my job, I am doing a PhD now. So I have a DVM, doing a PhD. I was slated to graduate in June of 2026. And I had a meeting a few weeks ago where I'm now, due to funding issues, I'm having to graduate August of 2025. So almost a whole year earlier than what I originally planned. So that brings up just a lot of stress. I have to do a oral exam in January, hopefully pass that. And then I have to defend my thesis in August, do, I don't know, 4 or 5 experiments in the spring. So it's just a lot of stress, not alone actually having to find a job too. So it's just, I feel like in the last month, my whole future, what I thought is just kind of gone. Not gone, but just, it's just different. It's just not what I thought it was a couple months ago. And I think it's for the best. Looking back on now, I think everything happens for a reason, and MJ and Amelia were there for me in some of these rough times I was going through, talking to them on the phone, and they've really helped me reflect in the past, I don't know, 4 or 6 weeks of what I can kind of do better. So I thought this kind of talk would also help with you guys as well. Big thing is these daily affirmations. I've heard of affirmations, but I've never done them. I'm still not very good at doing them consistently, but I have my days where I do really well, and then I don't. But it's all about dedication and consistency. So MJ's someone that kind of brought me onto these daily affirmations, just saying to yourself daily, one of them being, I'm worth it, I can do this. And that's really helped me be able to look in the mirror and tell myself that I can do this day in, day out. So if you have any questions about that, reach out and I can send you the YouTube link for that. Kind of gives breakdown. I forget how many, 10 plus daily affirmations. So that's helped me a lot as well. I'm not really going to get into religious or anything like that, but it's a spiritual connection has also been a big part of my life. I really felt that pull back in July and August. So that's been more of a part of my life now. Trying to go to church more, praying more. And again, I'm not going to go into the whole religious thing. That's not what this is for, but I'm just letting you guys know what what my experience has been the past few weeks and how it's kind of changing my life, so to speak. Because we all go through challenges, and you have a choice of how you can deal with those challenges. You can say, oh, woe is me, be sad. I still have those moments. And, MJ and Emilio have been there to pick me up, so to speak, and kind of slap me through the phone, saying to think of all the positive things, what I can be thankful for. I have my health, a relatively healthy person. I got my family, have a great career that I've worked really hard for, that the pieces have kind of fell into. I had to go through college, and I got to go into vet school. Then I had to do well enough there to get a residency and a PhD and finishing that. So I have, a lot of hard work that I've been able to kind of harness. So I have, a lot of positivities in my life, and not letting these sort of negative parts alter in the way you think going forward, and be able to look at yourself in the mirror every day and be happy for how you've come. But not to say that you can't change things and get and do better. So again, that's where the affirmations come from. Kind of works that this is happening at the end of 2024, near New Year's revolution. Hey, what perfect time to do that, right? So a lot of it's something like a spiritual, mental, but also physicalness as well. So it's another kind of pillar, I guess, I'm adding in. I'd say I've always been, well, no, I haven't. I won't say that. But the past 2 years, or 2 years ago, I probably lost over 100 pounds, 120 pounds probably. I've been able to keep it off for the past 2 years. But there's still, I think, improvements with that. I'd like to, where I have been going to the gym and working a little bit more and able to tone myself. There's probably, I don't know, some more I can probably lose or just tone myself in certain areas. So that's a part. Also just healthier eating as well. That goes into your overall mind. So just kind of cleaner eating is what is a big to-do list for me as well for 2024. So again, these daily affirmations, being in tune spiritually, as well as then changing kind of my physicalness to be able to become the best person I can be. I'm not saying this to be on some pedestal or anything like that, but I'm trying to say it to maybe encourage everyone that's listening in that they can do these things too. Everybody has talent, but your hard work and dedication is going to be there when your talent fails to work hard. There's a movie with that, and it's kind of blowing. I don't know what the movie is, and maybe you can tell me the movie if you remember, but it's a sports movie, and it's like, well, now, shoot, I'm going to forget it, but hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And that's always stuck with me. I don't know why. It just always have. I think that's why, I worked so hard throughout vet school and doing all these different jobs and everything like that to try to get to where I'm at. Just knowing that there's only so much in life that I can control. And I think that's a lot of us too. We're all control freaks in some sort of fashion. You have to be in order to do this at a high level. I think you have to be somewhat of a control freak, but some things in life you just can't control. So, and if you focus on what you're trying to control, what I'm trying to say, if you're trying to focus on stuff you can't control, it really eats at you when you're trying to control, but you some things you just can't. If you can let that destroy you in a sense. So it's kind of being able to let that go, to focus on what you can control and become the best version of yourself that you can do that. So yeah, hopefully that kind of influences you guys maybe to have some own New Year's resolutions. I know sometimes I think it's like cheesy, right? Everybody does the New Year's resolution, but then they fall off and they don't continue doing them. So it's something that to keep in the back of your mind, to have the dedication, the consistency. So, and to having those close friends around you, to have accountability. So I think that's really, really important. And MJ and Emilio and Brandon have been there for me the past year. So again, can't thank them enough, and really excited for what the 2025 year holds. Time just literally flies by. I can't believe I've been in this for a year, where I was initially with my snakes on the couch watching the Trap Tot Network, being ooh and ah, just like so, and I'm gonna say infatuated, but just really enjoying the shows up to now, running my own show on the Trap Tot Network. So it's just knowing what can happen here is crazy, and I'm really excited for what has happened. Again, really excited for the future. It's really changed my life, and I don't want to say that as in like a cheesy kind of thing, but it really has. It's opened up opportunities for me, met new people, and the opportunities are only going to get bigger and better from there. So I hope that we all can have that kind of outlook, is to just continue working hard each and every day, and everything's gonna pay off. So the doors are just gonna keep opening. So it's kind of where I'm at on that. So what's the time? 45 minutes. Fantastic. I bet it will last that time. I wrote this little thing of everything I wanted to talk about. And again, it's like I said, I'm more of an introverted person, so it's hard for me to go on this monologue, I guess, and talk about everything, but I hope it's been somewhat helpful for you guys. Maybe I'll look at the comments and see if you guys have any questions. This would probably be a good time to ask questions if you want, as I'm kind of wrapping things up. We'll talk about some upcoming travels that I'll have in the next year. But if you guys have any questions or anything, don't be afraid to reach out and ask. Hey, Chris, thanks for tapping in. Clean cages. Yeah, he's got some pretty good ideas for that. So definitely hit him up. First, he showed me the picture, and I was like, bruh, really? Like, come on, man. I was like, nah, not enough. But he's got, Brandon's very, very smart the way he thinks about different projects. So it kind of blows my mind, but he's got pretty good ideas for that. So you can reach out to him and get that. But thanks, Jordan. That means a lot. Not in the groups by, so you guys tell I'm squinting. I really need some glasses, but I'm really stubborn with that. I tried contacts and it was just terrible. I hated them. I hate touching my eye, so I just squint. But I probably shouldn't do that because my eyesight will get worse over time, they say. Yep. Yeah, PJ's been awesome. It's been great seeing you guys at the local shows too. Yeah, and H&H, I see them at the shows as well. Oh, I really appreciate that. Yeah, bad stuff's going to happen. There's no way to really prevent that. All you can do, again, that's something you can't control for the most part, relatively. So all you can do is learn from it and go in the future. So kind of have a positive outlook. Fairly Hog Parents, they had an awesome episode as well on hog noses. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, next year's always going to be bigger and better. Jordan. So I'm hearing that you could be my husband soon. I don't focus in reptiles. I say that. I do some consulting on the side. So it's another side job I have is consulting. So I work for a couple different companies. One of them, it's kind of like a crapshoot of every species. And I go in there and answer people's questions. So that one I do reptiles, but it's very basic stuff that you guys probably already know. I'll get on my soapbox a little bit here, but in vet school, we only get one lecture of reptiles, and it's all the reptiles, and it's in one 50-minute lecture. So we get really nothing. So to get vet care for your animals, you really need to go to a specialist. And a specialist is someone who has gone through vet school. They typically do a 1-year internship, and then they do a 3-year residency. So it's a very long road, very challenging road. The pay is usually not that great at all, but that's what people have to go through to kind of specialize in the exotic animal medicine. There's a couple older vets who've done it just through experience and through learning, but no, I don't consider myself a reptile vet. I mean, I'm a real vet. I know how to do animal stuff, but I've been in the research for the past, I don't know, what is it? Graduated in 2021. So about 4 years going on 5 years. So that's been kind of my life. I can still do medicine. Like I said, I focus more on the research animal side, and I do cancer research. So that's been my sole focus. So, but yeah, I have absolutely no idea when I won't say no idea. I have a couple options when I'm done with my PhD, either be a scientist or be a research veterinarian, either for a pharmaceutical company or academia or something like that. So those are kind of my options I'm looking into, whichever one has the better pay. I told my boss that too. They're like, what do you want to do? I'm like, whichever one pays more at this point, because things are expensive and I want to get the money. I've been in school, I don't even know how many years now, pretty much my whole life. I'm done. I want to make money. What was your favorite show to do? Ooh, that's a good question. That's another thing I've learned too, that I didn't have in my notes. Yep, I'm using notes, so I cheated a little bit there. But I've probably done 10 plus shows. I'm probably going on 15 now. My first one was December of last year. So I've been in a full year. I liked them for different reasons. I liked the Kansas City one a lot just because of what they had for the vendors. Like they had the pizza night, and then they had like a bowling night. So that was a really fun time to interact with people. I really enjoyed that part of it. I did really, really well money-wise, the St. Louis NARBCs, and that was my first one that I felt like I was competing at a level I wanted to compete at. Most of the other shows before that were local show me shows. Not really nothing wrong with those per se, but there is definitely a difference between a show me show and an NARBC of just the levels of it. So that was another favorite one I would say I had. And I always like the Columbia show. It's one that's 10 minutes from me. I always do fairly well there, moving animals, and it's a quick, like I said, it's right down the street. I'm home early. It's a 1-day show. So I liked those two every couple months. But overall, the shows have been a good learning experience as well. At first, I would kind of be discouraged if I maybe didn't hit like the target sales I wanted to take. But then once I switched kind of my mindset of just seeing the shows as more of an educational standpoint to get others excited into the hobby, especially kids, and talk to the parents of those kids. It's very interesting too, where the kids are so excited, but it's really have to sell the parents, and the parents are the hardest to get through. I noticed this at the St. Louis NARBC when you had a lot of people come in and they were all snake discovery fans. It was really mind-blowing to me that the kids were they were all decked out in their gear, and the parents were like, I'm not touching a snake at all. And it's kind of like, come on, you see the excitement in your kid. They watch us, I'm sure, day in, day out. It's in your home. Like, just give the kid a chance. And getting a reptile. So that has been an interesting thing I've noticed. But yeah, going back to the shows and just seeing them as a learning opportunity to really educate those. I think that's so important in order to have sustainability in the industry itself, is making sure that we're still making the next generation so very excited for this. That's how we're able to keep it going. So if we can all do our part in getting new people into the hobby, whether it be at, basic getting a gecko or something, and we all know how addicting this is, and then they kind of work themselves up to the harder species. But I think also, and this was brought up onto Gary's podcast on the Trap Tut Network last week, but making sure that that first experience is a very positive one. That line and information really stuck with me, and yeah, making sure that the whole experience, especially that first one, is a positive, so that they're going to come back. If you ruin it by giving the animal that's not well started or anything like that, or maybe not supporting them, then it could become a bad experience and they're not going to want to continue. So that's something I think we should keep in the back of our minds as well. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question on your favorite show. I kind of answered with multiple of them on why they were my favorite, whether I did while moving animals or just the hangout aspect of it or the fact that it was so close in my own community. Those are probably my favorite ones. And I'll kind of talk as I'm wrapping up some other shows I'm going to travel to this coming year. As far as vending, I think I'm mostly going to do the show me shows. I think I will do the St. Louis NARBC again. The Kansas City All-American Reptile and Plant Expo, I probably will do it maybe again in the fall. I don't think I'm going to have enough animals to do in the spring. That's one thing I've kind of learned is I can bring my small setup. Like right now, I just have one case of leopard geckos and one case of snakes. So I'm very, very small number-wise, and I'm almost pretty much out of animals anyway. So I'm not going to be doing some shows for a few months probably. But doing the larger shows, I want to be able to have more animals, maybe a couple cases of geckos or a couple cases of snakes. But I think that would help as well instead of just having like one case of like 12 animals, and same with the gecko. So I think that's one thing I would like to change going in the future. I'm pretty happy with the table setup and everything, but I think I want to make some changes, like get a branded tablecloth and kind of redo my banner as well, and more of like a one that kind of fits over the sleeve so it's nice and smooth. The one I have is more of a curtain. It looks great, but it gets really wrinkly. So there's some changes I want to make to the vending side of it. I've kind of started off, I would say, a little bit slow with that as far as putting a bunch of money into it. I put mostly my money into the animals. Now I'm kind of finished up with that part of it. I know I keep saying that, and I promise people I'm pretty much done. I know you don't believe me, but I am. So now I can kind of focus on maybe reinvesting a little bit more into the vending side of it. I kind of want to take my time. Again, with the merch, same thing, not rush into it, make sure I can be successful with this at a small scale and kind of build up from there and just do things slowly. I know it's really hard with buying the animals. I bought a lot of animals, but trying to go slowly and not, I want to say burn out, but just getting over your head, especially with the rat part of it and the number of animals. So that's been a little bit of a kind of a curve too, and how to get used to that. Morph minded, thanks for tapping in. Oh, fairly hog parents. Any species? Okay, 25. I brought up a little bit in the beginning. Chondro for sure. In the spring, and then I am looking into. I'm gonna say this: kahua geckos and the knobtail geckos. So I'm not sure if I'll get those in 2025. I'm trying to really not get any more animals or that many, anyways, because I don't know what I'm doing as far as job. I don't know if I'm going to stay here for another. I don't know if I'm move across the country in 6-7 months. I don't know. So I'm trying to kind of apply to some job and see where I go and what the future holds. So those are some species I'd want to get into. The knobtails, or like I said, there was a lot of subspecies. The Pilbarensis and the Levis levis are ones that I'm more focused on right now. I think they're like the smooth tailed. There's a lot of different varieties, but those are the ones I like. And then figuring out the morphs of them. There's an albino bright orange, albino patternless, which is a bright orange one that's super pretty. Then there's also, when I'm looking at hypo, like a lighter red hypo, yellow hypo in the Levis levis, and I think that has a little more legs on it, on being able to line breed a little bit more and be able to mix. But I'm still in the very much research phase of it, so I haven't jumped the gun or bought anything yet. But yeah, those are the main species for right now. Like I said, the chondro will be just a pet kind of for a year, just to see if I can handle it. apparently. Treat it well, make sure it lives. So yeah, see how that goes for a year. And yeah, the Kahoo is in the knobtails. I'm pretty okay with that. There's some colubras I think are really pretty, like those red-sided garter snakes, and there's another one. I always forget the name, but they're like red and white. I think they're also corn snakes, but they're really, really pretty. But again, those are the species that I'm looking at in 2025. But I don't know if I'll get them for sure or not. I'm kind of waiting on jobs and what I'm going to do with my life. So even if you don't focus on reptile, I think you'll know. Maybe. I've learned a lot consulting. It's been really sad. I think that's another thing I wanted to touch on too, is really giving the right information. I think having care guides like at your tables when you're talking to people, handing them out when they take an animal. I've done that in the beginning. I'm not super consistent with it, so that's something I can do better with, is having a care guide so people know how to take care of their animals. I've done a consulting where these animals are like pretty much dead and I can't really help them at that point. It's because of the wrong information that they were given. Sometimes they get the animal at a pet store, so we can't do anything about that. But if someone buys an animal from you, they definitely should know how to care for it. I know people, we give them, oh, you can reach out to us anytime, but some people don't feel like they can. It's difficult for them. I don't know why, but that's something we can at least give them as a bomb-proof care guide. I think that will also help make that a positive experience. So yeah, I appreciate that, but it's definitely not my wheelhouse. So I'm sorry if you reach out to me and I'm like, you should probably see a vet, because I'm just being on the safe side there. Vet medicine is hard, telehealth wise. Like I said, I work for a few companies and it's very difficult. And hey, Eric, nice to see you. Yep, I saw you guys at ARPE as well. Came and stopped by, someone locally. So yeah, reach out with any more questions. I'll kind of finish things up by talking about my upcoming travels. Sheesh, my throat's getting dry, so I know I'm about done. But Bob Vu's show will be going too. So I talked to MJ on the phone. We're both going to be there. I'll wait till he gives more information on how the trap is working with that, but I'll be there representing the trap at that show. So pretty excited to go to Atlanta for that in February. I will probably go to the March Tinley, I think. I went to the October one, that was the first time I went to Tinley. So it's only about a 6-hour drive for me. So, it's not like it's crazy expensive. And I know some people are like, 6-hour drive, that's crazy. But I've driven quite a lot. So that's really not bad for me. So I'll probably go to March Tinley that weekend as well and hang out. And then the Canova Patreon also has a get together in May. So I will do that. June is Trap Fest. So I will be doing that. And also probably going to the Super Show, Reptile Show that weekend too. Shout out to Rami, the sponsor of this channel as well. I've yet to go to one. Really excited to go to my first one. I've heard nothing but good things from MJ and everybody else on that. So really excited for that trip. And then August is Daytona. That's when I'm supposed to defend my PhD, hopefully, if everything goes as planned, unless something changes again, which it very well could be at this point. But I don't know the quite date for that, so I'm hoping I can defend maybe before that weekend, like the Thursday. But it's going to be cutting it close because I'm going to probably have to defend end of August. So, but I went to Daytona this past year, just visiting. That was a really fun show. I probably liked that a little bit more than Tinley, just from the hangout perspective. Tinley was, I thought, better from an animal standpoint. Daytona had a lot of species, but Tinley is at kind of another level when it comes to the animals. And I think Daytona seemed like is a good time of year, but some of the breeders hadn't really started hatching stuff out that much. So a lot of, some people had some emptier tables, but it was still an overall great expo. A lot of people in the hangout was awesome too. So I'll definitely be looking forward to that. Again this year, especially with the V unit having a get together down there too. So I'm crossing my fingers that I can hopefully get this PhD thing out of the way so I can go. And yeah, so that's kind of the upcoming travel. So as I'm looking at it, it's a lot. It's every couple months, but I think that traveling and doing these shows, and even if you're just, I mean, you don't have to vend, but just visiting is super important. That's how you meet people and make connections in person. I think it's so important since a lot of this reptile quote unquote stuff, is virtual over the phone, but you kind of solidify those relationships when you see people in person. So I think it's super, super important. I don't think you have to kill yourself trying to go to every show, but I think it's really important to go to one big show or a couple of shows every year, depending on your budget and travel. Like I said, I like to drive if I can, if it makes sense, but I will fly it if need be. Like I said, I'll drive to the Tinleys, but the other ones I'll just fly. So that's fine. I'll build up those flight credits. So they'll kind of check to see if there's any last questions before I hop off. But it's been a, I don't know, great show. I thought from my point of view, I said everything I wanted to say about everything I've learned in the past year, not only from reptiles, but from the groups I've chosen to personal growth. Really looking forward to the future and all the connections we're going to make, and can only get better and better. Reptile Whisperer Daytona is the best expo. Like I said, it was a really good one. I really enjoyed that, especially like the hang out at the bar and stuff and by the pool. So, all right. Kind of wait a little bit longer. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for tapping in. Really, really means a lot to me. Again, coming up at shows, talking to me face to face, it means the world to me. So I appreciate your support, and really looking forward to 2025 and everything that will come of it. So with that, I will hop off for the night. And if you got any questions or just want to say hey, just reach out. Nerfy Exotics on Instagram and Morph Market, of course, but I'm most active on Instagram. So hope you guys have a great night, a great holiday week, spend some time with family, eat some good food, and just be grateful for everything that we have. So have a good night, guys, and thanks again.